Miles, Jeremy, Cecilia for asking some questions. Sorry this delayed. Guess it was a good thing since some of you put in questions over the weekend. So anyway, is what it is. So the first question up, and a bunch of you had a question. This one was the Gone with the Wind model. And the Gone with the Wind model was fairly straightforward. It laid out a graph that, and so the thing was that Gone with the Wind convinced people that Technicolor was worth it, and the Hollywood movie studios were going to make money doing Technicolor films. So they give you a graph where they're making money, and this is price and costs, and this is quantities. And so they give you the marginal revenue curve. They give you a demand curve, which is marginal revenue is 1/2 slope of demand curve. They give you a marginal cost curve. And right from here, we know that production is always going to occur for a perfectly competitive firm, monopolistically competitive, monopolist, well, maybe not an oligopolist, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So this is our quantity for the whole problem. And so then the claim is that this is a company that is not making money, or sorry, that is making money. They're making money. And so if the quantity is set by marginal revenue equals cost, they don't price it out right here. This becomes really just the cost per production of each item. And what they're really doing is they set the quantity up here in demand curve, and you figure out here is the price that the item sold for. Now we're adding in, they add in average cost curve, average total cost curve, and mine's a little flawed in its drawing. That looks a little like this, where average total cost hits where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And so what that means is the average total cost is all the way down here. They're able to price it up here. So this gap area, this rectangle, becomes profits for the firm, right? So the average cost to produce the item is less than the price that they're able to sell the items for. So then the claim is, we're going to fast forward to World War II, and the materials become more expensive, so the average total cost climb, and the firms are just breaking even on profits. So if profits occur when the price is above the average total cost, and losses would occur if average total cost was somehow above price, this would be a loss region, then zero profits occur when average total cost occurs where the price and the quantity are. And so we want to shift up this average total cost curve till we're right here, so that the intersection or the cost curve lies where the price hits the demand curve. Now I noticed a lot of you figured it out, but it took you a lot of tries. It's, you know, as some of you wrote, it's probably simple, and it was kind of simple. It's an understanding that the average total cost relative to the price is what determines whether the firm is making profitability. In this case, we went from a profitable firm to a firm that was earning zero economic profits. So in this case, you know, zero economic profits looks like the perfectly competitive outcome. So anyway, that's the first one, and this is the one that predominantly everyone had problems with, although, you know, you guys figured it out, and it was a bitch to figure out if you were going to randomly guess, but it is what it is. So the next one up from the marginal monopolistic competition problem set was Glitter Ltd. Is what the firm was about. And you'll remember this one because it had some graph where it had quantities, and would it have quantities and total revenue and total costs somewhere over here, and marginal revenues and marginal costs. Had a whole bunch of information, and it had 4 boxes, A, B, C, and D. So the thing to remember with this is what you needed for A is you're going to need to know that marginal revenue, because they're asking you to calculate marginal revenue, is equal to the change in total revenue divided by change in quantity. In this instance, the change in quantity is not 1 unit. It's a 10,000 change in quantity. So you end up with 96,000, I believe, divided by 10,000. And this is negative because it's decreasing revenue, which is equal to negative 9.6, which rounds to negative 10, since you're supposed to round. So that's what's happening in that problem. But you need to know that marginal revenue. I'm not going to calculate the rest because the math might not be the same. But for B, the formula is not too difficult. The formula here is that we need to know that total cost is equal to average cost times quantity. Okay. For C, we need to know that, and this one's going to be very similar before, marginal cost as opposed to marginal revenue is equal to average total cost, change in total cost divided by change in quantity. And for D, we're using the knowledge that average cost equals total cost divided by quantity. Okay, so those are the formulas for that one. Shouldn't have been any surprises there. It didn't look like all of you had a problem with it, and the person who did was able to actually come up with the solution. And I noticed looking at the number of attempts on a lot of these problems that they've gotten easier. And one of the reasons they've gotten easier is because the theory of the consumer that we did before with calculating marginal utilities and things like that directly transfers over here. The other thing is this is very real for many of you. So the remaining 4 problems are on oligopoly. And these problems, you know, as opposed to going over the problems point blank, I'll give a strategy for them. So first off, let's talk about what the prisoner's dilemma is. And I think my marker is dying because I can barely see that. So let's get a new marker out of my bag. Just a sec, sorry. We'll do a nice bright red one. So we always start with this little like bowly box. And we have 2 players. We normally put player 1 here, player 2 here. The problems are very good at laying out which players where. We divide into 4 quadrants, and we're always looking at 2x2 games. So these are games where there's 2 decisions. So I always do the snitch, no snitch, snitch, no snitch. This is the traditional prisoner's dilemma outline. And the way we do this is we like to establish that player 1's outcomes are going to be on the bottom half, player 2 on the top half of each box. And so if they both don't snitch, then they both go to jail for 2 years. Not good. If they both snitch on each other, they go to jail for 5 years. And if player 1 doesn't snitch but player 2 does, then player 1 ends up getting screwed by player 2, right? Because he rats him out, and he does 10 years, and the other guy gets to walk. And in the other instance, it's symmetrical. It goes the other way. So player 1 snitches, he gets to walk, and player 2 goes. So important thing to notice is that we have a socially desirable outcome, SDO. And the socially desirable outcome is where the players do the best. So if they were going to look at this outcome and say, where could we do the best if we were going to collude and work together? It's clear that socially desirable outcome is not snitch, not, or -2, -2. So first off, snitch and not snitch are strategies. The numbers inside the boxes are outcomes. So in this case, the socially desirable outcome is -2, -2. The socially desirable strategy is not snitch, not snitch, and socially desirable strategy, SDS, instead of SDO. So what's it mean when we get into this discussion of a prisoner's dilemma? A prisoner's dilemma is that the players go along and they look at each box that they're in and they say, if I changed my mind and made a different decision, would I have done something differently? And so the question is, if we end up right here and you're player 1, you could have been here or here. Would you change your mind if you knew you were here? Well, obviously 0 is better than -2, so you change your mind. Likewise, player 2, they can go from here or here. Would they change their mind? Yes. So player 1 would deviate, player 2 would deviate. If either player deviates, it's not a prisoner's dilemma. It's not stable. It's not an equilibrium. Here, player 1, -10, 5. Would they deviate? Hell yeah. How about player 2? 0 to 2? No, they're going to stay the same. Well, one of the players one changed their mind. Can't be a prisoner's dilemma. So here we go. Here to here. Nah, stay. Here to here. Yeah, I'd like to move. So we get to the last box and we say, if you're here, do you want to go here? Nope. If you're player 2, do you want to go from -5 to 10? Nope. Neither player wants to change, so the prisoner's dilemma outcome is -5, -5. And the strategy is snitch and snitch. That should help with answering a lot of the questions for what you guys had questions on. Is really understanding what the strategies are, what the outcomes are, and then understanding who's in which role and what a prisoner's dilemma is. But there are a few amplifications I want to give for some of the problems. So one is we have the Kim and Nee problem. And the idea was that Neen is here and they can do expose or keep secrets. And Kim can do expose or keep secrets. And I'm going to lay out the outcomes that they had. And it was 2, 10, 10, 2, 8, 8, 5, 5. And obviously in this game they want to make as much as possible. So the first one is Neen and Kim play tit for tat. That means they start off with socially desirable, which in this case is 8, 8, and they keep going. And they keep doing what the other person does to them. So we end up with, from Neen's perspective, 8, 8, 8, 8, which is 32 after 4 rounds. On the next one, we do that Neen is doing expose first, and Kim is going to do tit for tat. So if we're here and Kim does tit for tat, which would be nice first, then it ends up being 10. Then Kim says, you effed me, I'm going to F you. So it goes back to 5, 5, 5, which ends up being 25. We go on down the line and we just play each of the rounds and we add up the outcomes. And that's how we get that one. And I'll let you guys do the rest of those on your own. Okay, last thing is to know that price equals marginal cost of doing something. And this is for the Dunphy and Funke problem. The other thing you want to know is that profit maximization for firms implies that they make 0 profit, or 0 economic profit anyway. Okay, in perfect competition. Okay. And we're really, you got to think what we're doing. We're taking an oligopoly and we're reducing it down, saying they no longer have pricing power. They become perfectly competitive price competitors. And then the other side is, and what they do there, they charge the cost. And that should help you with the Dunphy Funke problem or Funky problem. Okay. So anyway, that's all the problems people had. I know this is a short one. I always like to tell people, you know, your first few weeks in the class, and you guys probably can attest to this, you're stressed, you don't know what you're doing, the homework's all over the place. I'm looking now, I'm seeing that for the people who stuck around, you know, not that every problem's easy, but significantly a lot of you are getting the problems done and you're doing a good job on them and you're very much more efficient. In fact, for the dozen people I looked at in the last 2 days for your class, most of them were getting 2/3 of the problems done within one try, 2 tries. So the problem sets start moving quicker. The other thing is we're 2 weeks out from the end of semester and we've been moving really fast. I extended out the problem sets for, I believe, another week last night. But I know a lot of you did at least the first one, and we're still working on the second 2. What I'm going to do is I'll introduce some new topics that I normally don't get to do in class because I'm behind schedule and the class is running a little behind schedule, which is fine. So I'll introduce those. What I'll probably do is set those up as extra credit assignments, and then that way if you guys have a little extra time in the next 2 weeks before the final exam, you can do those assignments. This is also a chance for you to start looking at gradebook, make sure everything's graded. On the reader assignments, just know that there's some of the reader assignments we haven't gotten to on grading yet. We'll try to get to those as soon as possible. I'm going to start working on doing my run through of the reader assignments, although I probably should wait on that until they're all submitted. just so I'm not duplicating work, but I'll also start going through, finalize the grades on the exams. As I've said before, the exams are, not a hard and fast rule. The way to think about it is you're getting 50 and above, you're doing fine in the class. You're getting 30 to 50, you're on the low side of performing, but you're still doing fine. You're not going to fail the course. Below 30, you want to worry about your exam scores when you're getting down in the low 30s, below 30. They're not reflecting well unless something's really going wrong. So make sure things are accurate online. Talk with me. The way I do the closeout on the course, it's a pretty hectic time for me, is I go in the last week of the class as the class ends, and I'm going to regrade every assignment in the class by hand, all of the reader assignments, all of the exams, everything. I'll try to get the exams done before then, but the reader assignments definitely I'll not be able to get to till then, just for, as I said, not duplicating effort and screwing up. I will compile the grades. It normally takes me about normally about a week after the semester ends. So I'll end up compiling all of the grades for the course. I will send out an email saying that you have 24 to 48 hours to respond if there's a problem. If you think that I didn't do something correctly or there was a mistake on your grades, just send me an email at that time. I'll take care of it then and send you an email back and let you know what's happening. And then once I've given that 24 to 48 hours, then I submit the grades to the registrar so that they reflect on your record. So it normally takes about a week and a half, 2 weeks until grades end up showing up on your transcript or on your record online after you've taken the class. Mainly that's just because of the closeout procedure and the fact that I do go through and regrade everything again to make sure there were no errors, and also to finalize out the grading process. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good week, and thanks for your questions. They actually were pretty good this week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.